Welcome back, college baseball fans. I'm Monty Taylor, joined by Micah and Nick here on ACC Central. It is Omaha Preview. I'm live from Omaha with a familiar face, Jake McKeever, who has forced his way onto this show despite the protests of all three of us against his presence. Micah, how are you doing today?
Can Jake talk real quick?
Yes.
Oh, wow, I can actually hear you. I couldn't hear you in the interviews you posted on Twitter, so I just wanted to make sure I could hear you.
Oh, wow. What a low blow that was.
I
didn't want to be mean, Jake. I almost said it. I didn't want to be mean.
Jake doesn't understand how a microphone works and how to test it beforehand.
We did test it. I just felt very weird going, getting real close into people. So we figured it out with the pen in the later interviews. Unfortunately, it was with the SEC teams.
Shocker. So. It just means more. I get it, Jake. We get it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to parse out some of the quotes from Gallagher for my story that I was planning on doing on UNC, so that should be interesting. But, yeah, no, the ballpark's great. I am exhausted. I do not recommend driving here.
From Eastern Virginia?
By yourself.
Never
Micah, find a buddy.
Never heard of that idea before.
I am exhausted. I don't think I'm going to find – I think I live here now.
I am surprised you're turning around and leaving so soon, Monty, I will say.
I live here now. I'm not leaving. I'm too tired. But, Nick, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Never even answered how I was doing, Monty.
You wanted to talk to Jake. You used your time.
Sorry, Micah.
Go ahead, Nick. Tell everyone how you're doing.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, Micah, you can say how you're doing before we get into this. All right, how about the big news for UVA today? We got 2 big contract extensions for UVA athletics, Micah.
We did.
Both Tony Bennett, the basketball coach, for those that live under a rock, and Brian O'Connor, the baseball coach, have received extensions through 2030.
Is it Brian's through 2031?
I think so, yeah. I think his is through 2031, and then Bennett's has a trigger clause. If he's still employed at a certain time, it automatically rolls over to 2031. So
yeah, 2031.
Thank you. So big news for Virginia, and they have the early game against North Carolina tomorrow. This is our Omaha show. We're going to be previewing only the ACC teams, so ACC games. So we're not going to talk about Florida and Texas A&M because it just means more to someone else. Micah, how are you liking the matchups tomorrow?
I mean, I think it's tough tomorrow because it's kind of a weird situation where, obviously Virginia and North Carolina, they've met before. Virginia took that series in Charlottesville. I think both teams are peaking right now. So it's going to be interesting to kind of figure out whose best is better, no pun intended. But, that's going to be interesting because, again, if Virginia plays the way they have as of late, I think they might be the favorite. But at the same time, if Virginia's up 3-2 in the 9th, are we putting it against UNC to find a way to win it late? So, it's going to be a really interesting game there. And then obviously in the nightcap, right? I mean, I feel like I might be the only one that feels this way, but I feel really good about Florida State's chances just because of Jamie Arnold starting. I understand, obviously, I'll be the first one to say it out loud. I do think Tennessee is the best team in Omaha. I'm willing to say that. But on the flip side, right, we have the number 1 overall seed curse, right? I mean, no one's won it since 1999 as the number 1 overall seed. And we've got a Florida State team, again, who has the best pitcher in this matchup. Tennessee fans can trigger all that all they want. This year, Jamie Arnold's been the better pitcher.
He's the best pitcher left in the tournament.
That or the kid from A&M, who I know Jake over there loves to talk about.
Prager.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, those are the 2 best. But I mean, again, Jamie Arnold's the best in this side of the bracket.
Yeah, Prager is very different from Arnold. Arnold's a really big pro prospect, getting Chris Sale comparisons, and Prager is one of those guys that we love at UVA that can just get outs, right?
Yeah, he's a 90 guy, big, over-the-top, looping curveball. Link did confirm, by the way, it is going to be Jamie Arnold. Tony Vitello in the press conference was, I guess, kind of not knowing, but, Link confirmed that it is going to be Jamie Arnold, which we all kind of knew. So
yeah, we all expected, but they did stick with Carson Dorsey for the Super on a Friday night. I would have been a little surprised, but not super surprised. But I also like Carson Dorsey against Tennessee as well. Obviously, Jamie Arnold's a different animal. So let's start talking about UVA and UNC. Nick, what are you seeing from these two teams? And it is Evan Blanco for UVA. Did we get a confirmation it's DeCaro?
No, but it's by all indications it'll probably be DeCaro.
I mean, typically they do DeCaro, Sprague, and then from what I understand, I did see that Aiden Hogg is going to be moved into the bullpen because of the time off between games. They'll be able to figure something out, so they'll have that weapon out of the bullpen that they normally wouldn't have because they'd be holding him back. But
he mentioned that in the press conference that they're going to kind of attack the bullpen a little bit different with that extra day off. It's like nothing they've ever faced before. You guys mentioned that Virginia and UNC had played before. Both teams clarified that means nothing. So that was kind of one thing that really jumped out to me.
True, but at the same time, it means nothing in terms of predicting the next step. However, UVA has faced both Sprague and DeCaro before and had success. They also faced Pence and had some success, and Matias and had some success. So it'll be interesting to see how that works if the offense can find that way again. They did struggle a little bit more against Sprague than they did DeCaro.
But I mean, the flip side of that is it's an earned run average. So I mean, if you have pitchers like that are as good as they are, if you hit them one time, you almost feel worse about it going forward because you know that guy's got such a low ERA. That's kind of the one thing that really jumped out to me. Why you give me that face? It's the law of averages. Like if somebody has like a 2 ERA,
you're just pulling stuff out of your butt. But yeah, I did not see the back and forth about the Forbes quote. Jack, one of our colleagues, just brought up about the Forbes quote. I'm not familiar with it because I was still driving when UNC was doing their press conference, so I don't know.
I think it's going to be DeCaro. That's kind of the vibe that we kind of got from that.
Okay, yeah, that's typically what they
DeCaro tomorrow.
DeCaro's normally the Friday night guy.
I swear I saw Sprague. Well, I tweeted out that wrong. Well,
will you double check, Micah? Because I have no idea.
I'm gonna have to delete my tweet then. I swear I saw Shea Sprague was the
Folger's last start was against UVA.
I know.
He got shelled.
That's what kind of made me remember it.
DeCaro's been the Friday night guy since.
So no. What do we? Wait. I'm confused because this was said most likely going to be Shea Sprague game 1 starter, and that was 10 hours ago. But he did confirm it's Jason DeCaro. What?
I think we got it backwards.
I have no idea because I was not able to get here in time for that press conference.
So no, it's not going to be Sprague.
It is going to be DeCaro?
I don't know. I've seen two different reports.
So it sounds like we have no idea which UNC starter. It will be one of the two.
Here's what I have. I have someone from WCHL Chapelboro 10 hours ago. UNC head coach Scott Forbes confirms Jason DeCaro will start tomorrow versus Virginia. Third starter will be Aiden Hogg with available out of the bullpen, while Shea Sprague will be the second game on Sunday.
Yeah.
But then in a press conference from 10 hours ago from my guy Noah Bieniek, he copied a video where it says most likely, where it's Forbes literally saying it's most likely going to be Shea Sprague for game 1.
So that's what Jack's talking about in the comments about the back and forth. I have no idea then how to interpret that. Although Mark just said, Mark, who is being returned to the his Omaha apartment by Noah, said it's DeCaro was at the press conference, so it's Jason DeCaro. Terribly misspelled. That's a Jake level typo, Mark.
It looks like Sonny DeSheriff.
You need to call him Jake. You don't need to insert yourself into everything.
Well, then if it's DeCaro, we've seen that matchup before this year.
We've seen both matchups.
No, but I'm saying Blanco threw against DeCaro.
Because Blanco was still the Saturday guy at that point?
Yeah, that's correct.
Was it McKay on Friday?
Yeah, it was McKay on Friday. And that game went in favor of Virginia 7-2 as DeCaro gave up 5 earned and 6 innings pitched, where Blanco went 6 1/3 on 2 earned.
Yep, the Thursday game, which was 4-4, was wild. That was the Henry Ford 3-home run game. And then the Friday was DeCaro versus Blanco. And then I didn't go to the Saturday game because the series had already been decided at that point. And that's when Sprague pitched against UVA because Folger Boaz was his last start for UNC before he got injured, or I guess he was injured in that game. How do you feel about that pitching matchup, Micah? Don't worry, Nick. We haven't forgotten you. We just had to figure that out.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, right? I mean, you got to feel pretty good about it. You've got your guy here. You know, I think at the end of the day, you feel pretty comfortable about it. Obviously, UNC's now seen Blanco. I mean, I think it's really just going to – I think it's going to really come down to the bullpen in this one. I do think that both starters are going to have a chance – give their team a chance to win it. It's going to be a matter of which bullpen can kind of shut the door down. And, you know, I would have given the advantage to UNC 2 weeks ago, but the way that Virginia bullpen has been as of late, I mean, there's a lot of things to be excited about if you're Virginia. So it's going to be interesting to see what they get from the bullpen, right? Obviously on the Virginia side. Plus, I'm curious, Monty, obviously from a standpoint of Virginia's offense, you know, they have in the postseason done a really good job of putting together a lot of really good at-bats. And if they can continue to do that, because obviously we know Omaha is not the most hitter-friendly ballpark, you know, it's gonna play pretty well in Virginia's favor if they can continue to put those at-bats together, because you know UNC does a pretty good job of that, but they did rely on the home run ball a little bit more in postseason play so far than Virginia has.
Yeah, Virginia has 3 NCAA tournament home runs. Godbout has 2, and Sauke has the other. So they've been able to generate offense without the home run ball, which you know, in postseason baseball at any level, you see it a lot at the MLB level. If you can generate offense in a variety of ways, it typically ends up being a good thing because eventually with the home run ball, you're going to drought. Nick, how are you feeling about this matchup?
I think Micah made a good point that these two teams. Yeah, he always does. Micah's the best. He's the best.
Nick's more worried about tweeting about Virginia's slow start on the Jello shots.
Who cares?
Yeah, thanks for stealing my thunder there, Micah. Jesus.
Good thing. I'm so proud of Virginia fans for realizing that $5 for a disgusting Jello shot's not worth it. Shout out to Virginia for having some common sense.
They're pretty good Jello shots.
No, it's just that their fans aren't there.
Jake wants to defend the Jello shots. He wanted to go there tonight. We said no.
They are gross. They are very gross. But it is a great marketing ploy. It's very smart, very genius. But yeah, Micah made a good point about these two teams kind of playing their best ball at the right time up against each other. I love Virginia's pitching and just how it has come full circle. I mean, all season we talked about how this is not the same usual Virginia team with the great pitching and timely hitting. It's just this Virginia team, shaky pitching, but hits a lot of bombs. And now their pitching's become elite almost. And I really like their matchups against Carolina. If you look back at, you know, just throughout the regionals and super regionals, Carolina played in a lot of close games. Now, granted, they probably played tougher opponents than Virginia, but a lot of those games were, especially against West Virginia, were really close. I'm really loving Virginia's situation right now, just where their pitching is and how it's peaking.
Yeah, and their bullpen is very well rested. I mean, they basically only had to use Augustine, Tonis, and Hungate out of the bullpen, right?
Yeah,
they didn't use anybody in the Mississippi State game, right?
None of those other three.
One guy.
Tonis had to come in for one pitch and got a double play somewhere. Jay Wolfwick went 8 innings, so somebody had to come in the 9th. But
right,
Aiden Teal has not pitched. Owen Cody has not pitched. Blake Barker has not pitched. Who else am I missing? There's a good number of bullpen arms available. It's going to be interesting because, obviously they're going to have a lot of rest regardless because, you know, they both finished up on Saturday.
Ozinski's healthy, right, Monty?
Who?
Ozinski?
He should be, yep. And he's a ground ball specialist.
Yes,
I forgot about –
he hasn't thrown much at all.
Nope. So they've got a fully rested bullpen. I mean, everyone's going to be somewhat rested because both teams played on Saturday, but Pence has thrown a lot of innings. What did he throw? Was that the LSU?
2 or 3. It was 2 or 3 in that game against West Virginia.
Yeah, he's well rested. He'll be fine, but at the same time, it's, you know, it's at the end of the year. And you know, it's funny. I think I said all year round I was concerned about DeCaro's innings, and it seems like he's been fine. I thought at this time of the year he'd start to waver a little bit with the workload he's had, but I was clearly wrong. But Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game. Do you think UVA's experience gives them a boost as well?
I think so. I mean, I think, and I don't even know if experience is the correct word. I think it's the chip on their shoulder. They were, 6 outs away from beating Florida last year. And again, you and I have both discussed that, Monty. If they win that game, just based off how that bracket kind of played out, you kind of feel good about Virginia probably at least getting to the finals against LSU. I don't think they beat LSU, but I think they get there.
Yeah, going into that, I think whoever won that game between Florida and UVA was going to go to the national championship because, I thought Florida would have a better chance coming out of the losers bracket than UVA would.
Yeah.
But I didn't think either one would be able to come out of the losers bracket.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think when you're that close on top of, again, last year, they lost both games by 1 run. They lost the TCU game by 1 run, then eliminated them as well. And some of these guys were around in 21 when they took down Tennessee on the opening day. And then kind of made a push, obviously, where, the famous Stephen Schock home run against Mississippi State kind of changed things, and then lose to Texas in the elimination game. That took 3 hours of weather delay to even get started. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but I remember sitting in a suite for 3 hours just waiting for that dang game to start. But, yeah, I mean, I think that definitely helps Virginia, just from that standpoint. So, overall, I think obviously, yeah. Monty, I don't like it. My stomach is sick. My stomach is sick.
Your stomach has been sick since Jacksonville.
My stomach's been sick since opening weekend against Navy. What are you talking about?
Do you mean Hofstra?
I thought it was Navy opening weekend.
Nope.
Whichever team from the Mid-Atlantic region that Brian O'Connor schedules to start the season.
Nick, do you have anything more you want to add before I ask Jake his opinion? He talks for about 10 minutes.
As good as I feel about Virginia's pitching and just going into the World Series, UNC's bats has become very clutch. And right now, I think Vance Honeycutt has become probably the best overall player in Omaha. I personally think he's just been on fire. He's come up with clutch moments on the field or out in the outfield in the batter's box.
Nick,
what?
Vance Honeycutt has 0 hits in Omaha right now.
What did I say?
No, I was just pointing out.
Omaha?
You said he's the best player in Omaha. I said I don't know, man. He doesn't have any hits here.
And Condon and Bazana are here for the Golden Spikes.
Shut up. See what you did, Nick?
I don't even know what he said.
He said Bazana and Condon are here for the award tomorrow.
Oh,
so.
Honeycutt had a better postseason than Condon did, and I'll down that.
He was more clutch too.
Yeah, I also got to ask Duden about that off camera. That was pretty fun. But Nick, continue your thoughts. Sorry for interrupting and being a Micah.
Or Jake.
Yeah, as dangerous as I feel about Virginia's staff and their bullpen, I feel like Carolina's bats could give them a challenge, especially Honeycutt. But it's going to be a great game, I feel like.
Honey what? Honeycutt. I can't deal with you smirking. Go watch Family Guy. No, Jake, what are your thoughts on this matchup here?
I think Virginia's experience is going to play a big part in this. I know O'Connor's tired of hearing about that he's from Omaha and everything, so we'll definitely keep away from that. But I mean, Virginia was here last year. They said that they did a lot of things wrong last year that they really kind of want to go back and do this year. I think Griff O'Farrell and the guys are going to be ready to go. The familiarity of being in Omaha, every single person has tried to downplay it except for Virginia. And Virginia was kind of like, yeah, it's a very big thing. I think that experience is going to play up. And obviously last year, they lost 2 heartbreakers. I think that they're going to come out and play really good in that early game. I really like Virginia in this one.
Virginia does love those 1:00 games, Monty.
Yep, they didn't even get to pick this one. So I think it makes sense with what the whoever decided the scheduling is. It makes sense to have that Jamie Arnold versus the Tennessee offense as your primetime game.
It's probably the best game.
Yeah, it's probably the best game of the first round, I think, in terms of marketability and what you're trying to see. Micah doesn't necessarily agree. Micah, do you want to?
No, I'm nodding my head yes.
Oh, okay. I thought my bad. Thought you.
My head's tilted, so probably like a no. But yes,
yeah, you're fine. But yeah, so really, really exciting. But let's talk about that Florida State game. Tennessee. Virginia's got one of the best offenses in the country, but Tennessee's on another level. We'll start with Nick this time. Nick, what are your thoughts on Florida State? We've talked a little bit about it with the Jamie Arnold versus that Tennessee offense. How are you feeling about that? Are you feeling the same as Micah is?
I feel pretty good for Florida State. I've been harping about their pitching staff all year and how their first two of their starters went out, and now you got them in the pen, and now Carson Dorsey's back in the starting rotation. I think their pitching staff is super deep, and I think they have everybody in Omaha except maybe NC State. Florida State's pitching staff is the deepest right now. And I feel like Florida State can take Tennessee in this one.
Jake, why did you just look at me?
Because we were talking about a non-ACC school that had a really deep bullpen. That was all.
Who's that?
Texas A&M. They were really
God,
good.
you're such a homer.
I mean,
all he does is talk about Texas A&M. It's annoying. That's why I don't want him on the show.
Go ahead and get your Florida State.
No. All right. So here's the thing that I'm worried about. Is I think I trust Jamie Arnold, but can Brennan Oxford and Holtz come in and shut the door at the end of the game? They should be able to, but I don't want to put too much eggs in the Jamie Arnold basket. But I am excited to see Cam Smith, James Tibbs, those guys going head to head with the Tennessee. Yes, yeah. He gets hit by a lot of pitches.
He gets on base guy.
Yeah. Well, for somebody who doesn't walk a lot, he gets on base a lot. But yeah, no, Florida State offense as well. I think that's going to be a really fun one to watch. Again, there's a reason this is the primetime game for the ACC versus the SEC. It's one of the two matchups between the two conferences in the first set of games. Micah, talk to me about this Florida State-Tennessee matchup. What do you see from Tennessee that's going to be a problem?
I'm going to say it, and it's going to put me – it's going to give Florida State a problem?
I mean, up to you.
This is the best team in the country, but I'm telling you, man, this is giving me serious Wake Forest vibes from last year, this Tennessee team. The numbers are all skewed towards them. They hit a ton of home runs. We know that doesn't translate very well into Omaha.
Yeah, one second. Are you okay, Nick?
Yeah, why?
He just post-traumatic stress. That's all. Go ahead, Micah.
Poor Nick's catching strays today. Monty drives across the country, and all of a sudden
gets one cigar in him, and he just and just all the Jake hate. It's just building up to Nick and Micah. So
what? No,
I had a drink.
Oh boy.
A drink. He had a one.
But keep in mind, I've slept like a total of 5 hours over the past 2 days. But Nick doesn't deserve this. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. What have I done to you, Monty?
Mark is coming to your defense out of nowhere. Mark is going back to his Omaha apartment that he only uses once a year. That's a joke. He's renting an Airbnb, I think. But
yeah. If anybody in Omaha is staying at the Muse, just stay out of Mark.
Jake, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I mean,
don't mention Texas A&M.
I was just saying, I think the talk of the day was definitely the Tennessee offense versus Jamie Arnold. But wait, why are you?
I cut Micah off to ask if Nick was okay and never went back to him to finish his thought.
You can have your moment in the sun.
I don't want my moment in the sun. I just want Monty to go back to being a good host. What is this?
By the way, Micah,
Monty goes to Omaha and has committed 3 errors in less than
this is our show, so it's not his moment in the sun.
Oh my
You're a guest here, Jake. How dare you? Go ahead, Micah.
Well, I'm just saying. I just think Tennessee, it's gonna be interesting because I mean, if you're telling me who's the best team, it's Tennessee. But I have this weird feeling about them. I also think too, Florida State matches up really, really well from the standpoint of I think they can put together a lot of good at-bats. I mean, obviously, I think James Tibbs III found kind of what he was looking for there, and hopefully that carries over into Omaha. And again, Florida State's lineup is maybe not as deep as Tennessee's, but it's pretty darn deep. So at the end of the day, as long as Jamie Arnold doesn't pitch the way he did against UConn and goes back to kind of the Jamie Arnold we know and love, I think Tennessee's going to struggle. And I mean, whether Tennessee wants to accept it or not, I think there's a lot of not a lot of people are picking Florida State to win this game. And so I think that Jake, oh gosh, we're both on Florida State. We're screwed. Tennessee has officially won Congratulations, Vols Nation. You're going to enjoy it. They found my tweet already, Monty. There's been like 50 bookmarks on my ready to run through a brick wall. We're all Knowles tomorrow. Cannot wait for Tennessee to win and to get those wonderful "we told you so"s, even though that wasn't me saying Florida State was going to win, even though I'm now saying that.
Get ready to hit your Rocky Top sung in the worst way possible over numerous times, Micah, and hopefully we're wrong.
What's actually the worst way to hear it, Micah?
Ooh. At a bar in Johnson City, Tennessee, at about 12:37 in the morning, after Tennessee took down Alabama. That was the worst way to hear it.
Oh yeah, you're a big Bama fan.
Oh yeah, Roll Tide.
Bama football, Division II baseball.
Get out. All right, thanks, Micah. Jake, we're gonna cut you short. And no, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I was gonna say that everybody's been talking about Jamie Arnold versus this Tennessee lineup, and I think that a lot of people are overlooking how deep this Florida State lineup is. I think it is right up there. And the flip side of that is they're a lot faster of a team. So a lot of those balls at Tennessee would have been home runs at Lindsey Nelson that kind of die at the wall with the wind blowing in. I think Florida State has the team speed in the outfield to make a lot of those plays, limit the doubles to singles, triples to doubles. So I'm really excited to kind of see how Florida State does it. I think that they have one of the more underrated center fielders and from a defensive standpoint.
Did you just mention the size of the Tennessee ballpark?
I did, yeah. Micah did too.
But I thought size doesn't matter.
Size always matters.
Spoken like a guy from the SEC.
From the largest
more.
So do you want to go to talking about NC State now, or should we talk about some picks from this side of the bracket?
I said we talk NC State, get the last game out of the way.
All right. So first of all, we're talking NC State and Kentucky.
Yep.
Why do I keep struggling and trying to put in a different team against NC State?
Florida A&M had played in Kentucky. So that was the big storyline to remember it. But so Kentucky and NC State.
So we've got Kentucky and NC State. I'm going to start with Jake here. Jake, why don't you tell us about Kentucky and why you love them?
Jake, hold on. Before you go, is Trey Pousser, whatever it is he starting?
He didn't announce
Poser?
That one. But, this Kentucky team, I would say the best description of them is kind of like a Virginia light. They're kind of almost an island of misfit toys. They use a lot of D2 transfers and stuff like that. They play the game kind of their own way. They march to the beat of their own drum. I would say their game translates the best to something like the Chuck is because they're used to a big stadium at KPP. They love to bunt. They love to go first to third in the gap on singles, that kind of stuff. So they really do kind of possess a new challenge where if you're not on your game from a fielding standpoint, like we saw with UConn and Oklahoma, Kentucky's a team that can really kind of get out in front of you. And in the bullpen, every part of you says that this bullpen shouldn't be good. They don't run out any arms that you're like, wow, this guy's really good. But, they string together a ton of outs. They do a great job of staying up with their bullpen. And honestly, they just kind of have a never say die attitude. Well, I think that they know a little bit that they're not supposed to be here, and they're just kind of playing their hearts out. And I think it's going to create a really, really tough matchup for NC State. But I would say NC State's the favorite in this one.
Kentucky's the number 2 seed. What do you mean that they don't think they should be here?
They've been doubted all year. Everybody in the SEC's kind of always overlooked Kentucky. Anytime it seems like somebody loses a series to Kentucky, it's X team played bad, not that Kentucky played good. Like I said, they don't have a ton of star power compared to the other teams that are here. They're just kind of D2 guys, transfers. Mitchell Daly, who was in the press conference, didn't start at Texas last year and was kind of told, hey, you need to leave. And he's a Gold Glove third baseman. So it really kind of is just the island of misfit toys of, hey, it's everybody kind of get on my back. And they truly have, I think, one of the most inspirational coaches. It reminded me a ton of Link Jarrett when he was at Notre Dame, where you're just like, oh, this is why people come to this school, because he's just a great motivator. But again, I think NC State, when you look at the teams on paper, you take away the numbers, which in Omaha you almost have to do. I think NC State feels like the favorite here. Like they have the better, deeper lineup. I think that they can create kind of chaos with their bullpen arms. So it really kind of is on NC State to take care of business and take the outs that Kentucky will give you.
All right, good talk. Micah, what are your thoughts on the NC State and handling Kentucky versus, someone like Georgia?
See, I think Kentucky might be the most slept on team from a from a standpoint of just, everyone's overlooked him. I'll be the first one to admit, Jake, obviously we've had our fun with Kentucky fans this year on the bracketology. I'm sorry, by the way, we had him as a 4 seed. They ended up being a 3, right? Or was they a 2? Were they the 2? Ah, shoot. Well, sorry, Kentucky fans. We missed you. We missed your seed by a little bit there. But, they're a team that obviously, like you mentioned it, Jake, right? They're so good. They're so deep. I just wonder if that first trip to Omaha kind of does anything to them. There's a lot of excitement from Kentucky fans. I'm curious. I mean, you guys are obviously there in Omaha. Did you see a lot of Kentucky fans yet? I've heard mixed reviews on whether they're traveling well or not.
They are absolutely destroying everybody at Rocco's right now. They are, I think, far and away.
It was also their first time there, though. So, I'm not even and I'm not going to say that Rocco's isn't going to be what it was, but it's not going to be what it was last year.
Yeah. I think the flip side of that is, he made a plea in the press conference that he wants to be the team that Omaha gets behind. So even if Big Blue Nation doesn't travel, I think the citizens of Omaha are going to kind of lift them up. Like, if you remember that Oral Roberts Florida game last year where it ended up being a very pro Oral Roberts.
Why would they rally behind Kentucky?
I mean, who else are they going to rally
behind? If they're Creighton fans, they're not allowed to be Kentucky fans for basketball reasons.
Creighton fans are also Nebraska. Like, the whole idea of a Creighton fan, I feel like, leads yourself to kind of jump on bandwagons. But
why are they taking ricochet shots? My goodness.
But I think I think they're going to be the team that everybody in Omaha kind of roots for. I think Big Blue Nation, obviously, I think they're going to travel better than, I think I think Florida State's going to probably travel the most, if I had to guess. But I think Kentucky's going to be right up there in it. And everybody, I think, wants Kentucky to win.
Why do you keep looking at me? Camera's there.
Because I keep seeing you shooting me dirty. I mean, they're really easy.
I know one person that doesn't want Kentucky to win.
Monty.
Other screen, other window. I don't know where yours is at, but mine's over here. The guy that's wearing glasses and that's just ready to rip your head off.
Yeah.
You anti-Kentucky, Nick?
He's an NC State alum. What do you mean?
He just asked me like 20 minutes ago if Nick went to Wake Forest. I said no, he went to NC State.
Oh, come on, Jake. What are we doing here? Get your head out of the gutter, kid.
You can admit, though, that they do kind of feel like the Cinderella happy to be. I mean, their closer is a D2 transfer that just on a whim.
How many times have you said D2 transfer today? That's it. You're done.
I'm done.
No more.
Shouldn't everyone rally behind Virginia that has a D2 and a D3 transfer and their coaches from Omaha? Like, wouldn't that make the most sense?
Hey, he's tired of you saying that.
Jake also didn't know Oak was on the statue in front of the stadium.
No, and also, did you know his old high school friend owns Rocco's? He brought that up in this conference too.
No, it's not Rocco. I don't think it's Rocco's. I think it's the Barrios or whatever.
No, that's where he worked, but his friend owns Rocco's.
Sure.
Is what he had said. Because he had said, I've only ever been in there to eat.
And that explains why no one buys them at Virginia.
Gators don't belong, but they're here, so it doesn't matter.
We're not talking about that game.
Yep, we're not talking about that game because this is an ACC show. So I believe Florida is playing another SEC team, so they can worry about that.
Mississippi State.
And Florida will probably never play an ACC team in Omaha, right, Monty?
That's the dream. But Nick, let's hear your thoughts here on what are you afraid of Kentucky?
I think it's an interesting matchup. You got a team that has never been there before, and then you got another team where their storyline is we're back, we're out for revenge. I think there's one goal in mind for this NC State club. They've been quietly very hot all year. Beating.
No, not all year.
I wouldn't say quietly either. I mean, they beat like Clemson.
I would say quietly after they beat Wake Forest. It was quietly before then. And then then it was they get to host regionals.
Yeah, they've been hot since the Clemson series. Midweeks don't count. Right, Florida?
Yeah. Yeah.
You sure you're not SEC guy?
I want nothing more, Monty, than on Saturday. That's the night game, right? The Florida game? Is it the night game?
Yeah, the Florida game's the night game.
Yeah, I want nothing more than someone to find you, Monty, a Florida fan, and just do one of these in your face for a good 20 seconds. And if anyone gets a video of you gator chomping in front of Monty's face that's not a CBC employee, I will buy you a shot when you get to Omaha.
I think you're probably rooting for Florida because you like to see me suffer.
Who's Florida playing? Oh, A&M.
My alma mater.
Joke's on you guys. I won't be there. No,
He's driving back.
I'm driving back as soon as the ACC game's over. It just means less. But yeah,
ACC.
Can you just shut up? God. Nick, any more thoughts on handling Kentucky and yeah, we interrupted you about talking about how hot they've been. Continue your thought there without Micah interrupting you again.
I would love to. Yeah, State, they've been very hot. I think they have one goal in mind. It's going to be interesting how Kentucky can handle their lineup, handle their pitching and everything. I feel like State has the upper hand in this. I feel like Jake's right. They are the favorite in this game, but you never know. I mean, it is Omaha. You got to throw out everything that you saw over the season and even in regionals and super regionals, because Omaha is just different. You can throw out how good State's lineup's been, how good their bullpen has been. The key for State is how well can they stick to the script. Their script has played out so perfectly since regionals. Their bullpen has played out well. They got out to early leads, and if they haven't, they relied on their bats to get them back, and then the relief pitching just does the rest. So if you could get your starting rotation, which is, quality, it's not the best rotation in Omaha, but if they can hold Kentucky to 2 to 3 runs through 6 innings, I think that State's got a legit shot of winning this game. But the key here is I think you got to stick to the script, because everything has played out perfectly for NC State.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Got to speak with Jacob Duden. He's a big fan of the Dude Abides meme that I created, so that was a big boost to my ego. I definitely wasn't staring at him from behind the camera, threatening him to say that. He seems. It was interesting. We talked to him a little bit off camera about his slider, because I thought that was the best I've ever seen his slider, and he said it probably wasn't the best he's thrown, but he throws a lot better away from home. And he's not sure. They don't always have the metrics on the road. And I think it sounds like, and one of the things he talked about with the Condon strikeout is how much he enjoyed the atmosphere and the moment. And that's just a closer mentality. That's a big game pitcher mentality. I love that from the freshman. It sounds like he locks in when he's away from home in an environment, and that's what he lives for. So I thought that was a really cool little insight that I wish we had gotten on camera, but I didn't think about it until after we stopped recording.
And he did say too that they don't always get the metrics on it. So maybe it's just when he's on the road, he's not chasing a metric or chasing a spin rate. He's just throwing. But I mean, that's going to play really well in Omaha, because you're going to get electric environments and you're not going to get readily available numbers like you would at home. So I think that kind of plays in NC State's. But Nick, I did want to say something. You said that if NC State can limit Kentucky to 3 or 4 runs, they feel really good.
2 or 3 after 6.
I think NC State has the offense to win a shootout, and they have more bats. So you almost feel more comfortable if you can get the bats going. And I think that's going to be kind of the bigger thing, is can you get above 5, 6, 7 runs? I think the bats are going to be a big part of that game.
And we also talked. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I was going to say that's a good point. But if the bullpen has a hiccup, then your point's valid. That the bats can probably show up throughout the rest of the game if need be. So yeah.
We also got to talk to Brandon Butterworth.
I did see that.
His social media handle. Yeah, you could see it. You couldn't hear it, right?
I did have to turn up my phone just a little bit, Jake. Just a little. Yeah, kind of right by. I was laying on my bed, so I kind of just put it right here on the pillow.
We just need better mics. We need better sponsorships.
Micah will be here on Sunday with a better mic.
Yeah.
Question for the panel, real quick. Who shows up more, Big Blue Nation or Wolfpack Nation? Genuine question. I don't know.
Wolfpack.
NC State.
Yeah, NC State.
Although I was disappointed I didn't get to see any of my media buddies, because they had started driving tonight. So I was all looking forward to seeing my buddy Brian, but he's on the road. But yeah, no, it's going to be really interesting. And Sam is confirmed, right? He went to the press conference. I assume Sam Highfield.
That's usually kind of the.
Like we knew, there was no doubt. I think that was probably like the easiest call of who's going to start of the ACC teams on a Friday night. And
Jamie Arnold.
No, because Carson Dorsey was pitching on Friday, so I don't think that was Jake.
Yeah, but
this is why you can't be on ACC shows. You don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I knew that he pitched the regional and the super regional, but I mean, he gives them their best chance to win, and you got to get in front of that in Omaha. That's a very big part.
You take pitchers out of the routine. Shut up, Jake. Micah, what are your thoughts here on this NC State Kentucky matchup? And you're looking off screen, looking a little forlorn.
He looks sad.
Me?
Yeah.
Do you know what forlorn means?
He looks like he has FOMO.
I really do. You know how upset that I am? So,
I had a $70
quick 30-second story. I had planned this Omaha trip, and my buddy wasn't even engaged yet, and here he is getting married the opening weekend of Omaha. God, why'd I have to be the best man of a wedding the first week of Omaha when there's
I planned this trip on Monday.
I meant what I mean, like a wedding. Come on now. But anyways, I do have serious
Don't
FOMO.
get married on the Saturday in the fall, and don't get married before Omaha.
He said his wedding. Come on, I said I do. Yeah. Laugh, bitch.
Jeez. Anyways, Monty is on a new level tonight. Goodness gracious.
This is like a late night Monty that I really don't get to see a lot because I don't get to interact with the ACC.
Monty after dark.
This is what happens when you get four ACC teams to Omaha.
Stanford in California, watch out. Monty after dark is coming.
Those 3 a.m. recaps are going to be insane.
Well, actually, Monty's going to look for one of those on sale Stanford polos.
Yes.
Last year.
Oh, this explains why Mark is such a big Notre Dame guy.
I thought it was a BYU guy.
BYU?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's something.
How many friends do you have, Mark, that you've been a groomsman 15 times? That you got to cut the level of friends.
Yeah. Note to self: don't be friends with anybody. But anyways,
Micah has a lot of friends.
But anyways, from the NC State Kentucky standpoint, again, I think both teams are obviously. I mean, it's Omaha. All these teams are obviously really, really good. My biggest question mark is which Sam Highfield we get, because again, I think I agree with Nick. Like if Highfield can limit them to 2 or 3 runs through 6, I like the bullpen to be able to shut them down. I do think that NC State can score 4 or 5 runs. Regardless.
The last time Sam Highfield was played in Omaha, he had 2 hits.
True. I forgot about that. I think it would be kind of funny if they let him hit. By
the way, I did hear some coughing. During the. I'm just kidding.
Stop. I just finished writing an article about this, Monty. Will you stop?
Wait, you called it an article? Wow.
Real quick. Does somebody need to edit that? Because I didn't know you did anything.
I did right before we hopped on.
Okay, good to know. So I will look at that afterwards because the email thing doesn't come through. But anyway, yeah. So real quick before we do some picks. No, Mark, everyone is healthy and happy. Yes, NC State is fine. The COVID jokes are hilarious.
Wait, what's this picture from that's got UVA and Vanderbilt on? Is this from the year Virginia won the title?
It would have to be either the one they lost or the one they won.
Well, I need the answers.
Or 2021.
Virginia didn't meet Vandy in 2021.
No, but they. Is it on the? Let me
do your little thing again where you show See, it's Doors versus Cavs.
Yeah, so it had to have been 14 or 15. But anyway, before we get into our picks, let's talk about one of us picking an X Factor pitcher and an X Factor player for any of the ACC teams. Does anyone want to go first? Jake?
Sorry, I was just checking some of the tweets on stuff. I would say X Factor pitcher. It's going to be low-hanging fruit. It's got to be Jamie Arnold, right? He's got to go out. He's got to throw a long outing. He's got to erase what he did in his last one in the Super Regional. He's going to be on a quote-unquote shorter rest, still kind of normal rest. If Florida State wants to have any chance to be playing deep into this tournament, their Friday night guy has to go 7-8 innings. It's got to be a minimum just to save that bullpen. So he's kind of my X Factor pitcher.
We'll come back to players after we do a round. So I just want to make sure. Nick, who's your X Factor pitcher for the ACC tomorrow or Saturday?
I think I'm gonna have to go. I gotta go Dom Fritton for State. If State ends up going 1-0 against Kentucky, Dom needs to show up game 2. If they can get off to a 2-0 start, that would be huge. Dom has struggled a lot lately.
Even if they go 0-1, they need him to step up.
Correct. Yeah. Either way, that game 2, whether you're in the winner's bracket or in the loser's bracket, Dom is the X factor. If he can get you when Dom is on, he's going up against he's going toe to toe with Chase Burns.
I'll take
we know how good he can be, but lately we haven't really seen that as much. We saw a good Dom during the regionals, but the super regionals was tough to watch. So it just depends on what you're gonna get.
No worries. Yeah, sorry, Noah called us and was asking questions. So, but yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a really good X factor pick, regardless of whether they win or lose on Saturday. He's going to need to step up, and I imagine he'll have a longer leash if they're 1-0 versus 0-1. But that's a fantastic X factor. Micah, who's your X factor for pitchers?
Who's my X factor? Well, I'll go with who's pitcher Jay Woolfolk.
I like it.
Similar to what he just said with Dom, if Jay is what he's been the last 2 outings, that's going to be huge for Virginia because, again, that's either going to be win or go home, or it's sitting in the winner's bracket in a situation where, you're either looking at, again, a really good UNC team, a really good Tennessee team, a really good Florida State team, one of those 3 teams, right? It's going to have to beat you twice, and that's going to be tough to do when you still feel pretty good about the bullpen, when you still feel pretty good about, I think regardless of opinion, right, Joseph Vino has been very, very good for Virginia. Just he can't go for very long. So, I think obviously Jay is going to be a big X factor because, especially too last year, wasn't his fault, right? But, the one time we saw him, or the 2 times we saw him, it wasn't really in great spots and he didn't pitch super well. So if he can be, the Jay we've seen the last 2 outings, I mean, that's going to be huge for Virginia. So.
Yeah, and an interesting thing that you picked up on that was important last week. Obviously, we saw him against Mississippi State. He was fantastic. Everything was working. What was really important last week against Kansas State is he grinded out a result when he didn't have his best stuff. And that's really important because more often than not, you're not going to be having everything working. And he was able to grind out and maintain the command that he can sometimes struggle with. Jake, you had a hand up?
I was going to say Jay Woolfolk. He did have a little bit of like a wrap around his knee. O'Connor said that there's nothing to worry about, that he's at 100%, but that is kind of something to monitor, is that I'm sure he's probably put in a little bit extra work rehabbing on that knee.
I think he's had that all year, though, hasn't he, Monty?
Yeah, Micah, remember when I texted you early in the game, too, that he was hurt?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That he slipped on the mound or something. He ultimately completed 6 or pitched into the 7th.
He went another 4 or 5 innings after that.
Yeah. So because they asked, is Jay Woolfolk hurt or something? I was like, no. And I was like, oh wait. And the only reason I remembered it is because I texted you about it. Since I was feeding into your doom and gloom at that point.
Thanks, Monty.
But yeah. So we've got Jake's X factor is Jamie Arnold. Nick's is Dom Fritton. Micah's is Jay Woolfolk. I'm gonna go with Dalton Pence. I was trying to debate whether I wanted to go with Matias or Pence. I was going to go with an UNC bullpen arm, but I think I'm going to go
Monty,
with
before you continue, I would go Matt Poston here because he is kind of a do or die. Like, we kind of know what to expect from Matias and from Pence. But Poston, we saw a really bad Matt Poston against LIU. We saw a really good Matt Poston against West Virginia.
That's a good point. I will. You know what, Micah? That's a good point. And he was really good for him last year. He was a lot more consistent last year than he was this year. Whereas this year, which one are we going to get? And that's the definition of an X factor. So you know what, Micah? That's very good. I wanted to go with the UNC bullpen arm. Those are their big 3 guys out of the bullpen. Aiden Hall will also be out of the bullpen since they've got that extra day. But I'm going to go with Matt Poston just because he'll probably pitch in one of these 2 games in the first 2 games. So it'll be really interesting to see. So, by the way, great job, guys, on a different X factor from all 4 teams from the ACC. Well done. Let's go with players. We're going to go in. We're going to start with Micah. Do you have an X factor player?
X factor player.
I can go to somebody else.
I'll leave an NC State Wolfpack for Nick. I think I'm going to go Cam Smith from Florida State because he's the type of guy that obviously he has the offensive ability. You kind of see it in spurts. And, defensively, he's either really, really good or he makes some really frustrating mistakes. For the most part, he's really, really good. But there are those moments where you're just kind of sitting there.
You saw him make 3 errors in that game against Louisville?
Yeah, in that game against Louisville. And I think I've seen him commit 4 or 5 errors in person this year. So, maybe that's all the errors he has on the year. But, I really like Cam Smith. I think that, when you talk about the Florida State lineup, you get a lot more, obviously, about James Tibbs III, and rightfully so. But, you have a lineup that's just so deep. And I think if Cam Smith is going in that, normally 2 spot? Is that where he's at? Yeah.
Tibbs 3.
If he can get on base for Tibbs, that's going to be huge for Florida State.
Yep. I'll share marks when we get to it. Nick, who's your X Factor player?
Well, Micah, I'm curious. I wasn't going to go a state player, so who were you going to pick?
I was going to go with my man Butterworth again.
That's a great one.
Keep riding the Brandon Butterworth train until it's dead.
That is a great one because somebody pointed out. Was it you talking about it? How he does all these little things right, or was that somebody else on Twitter?
I mean, I don't know if someone else put it on Twitter. I know I've mentioned it before. I mean, anytime I can hype up a former SoCon guy, I'm going to do it. So
he does.
Which, by the way, Will Riley, SoCon second team pitcher, committed to UVA today. That's a big dub from.
By the way, Jake was going to go with Butterworth. By the way, so Jake will have to think of someone else. But Nick, who's your X Factor player since you're not going NC State?
I debated between two guys that played the same position. One's on State, one's on UNC, but I got to go Honeycutt. When Honeycutt goes, UNC goes. Like, I think, again, like I said, I think he's one of the better players left in Omaha. When I was down in Charlotte and I saw Wake play UNC, like you said, Monty, when we recorded right after, the star power showed up in that game, right? Like, Vance reminds me a lot of Nick Kurtz. When Nick gets going, all of Wake gets going. When Vance got going, UNC got going. That's why that game was so special and so good and like one of the best games I've ever been to. So if Vance can get going, which he has been, we know we talked about it earlier in the season where Vance was off to a slow start. It looked like ACC Player of the Year was kind of out of the question. I mean, guys on his own team were playing better than him, but all of a sudden in the second half, he's just been on fire. If he can get going defensively, offensively, keep the momentum riding, UNC, they ride with him. So I think he's my X factor.
Yeah, it's a good one. By the way, Jake was very quick to say Vance Honeycutt was back at the beginning of the season, and I don't think he was quite right. He was just a little early, but he did ultimately end up being
he was famous for
he wasn't hitting a lot of doubles.
The 1 for 5 with the home run.
And he's still kind of that way, when he's not red hot. But
he reminds me a lot of like a Bo Jackson, like where like the arm strength is there, the speed is there.
I'm not old enough to have watched Bo Jackson.
That's who he really kind of jumps out at me, is the Bo Jackson aspect of it.
I love that you went to like 1986 for your freaking comparison. Who's your X factor?
Griffo Farrell. He's the team leader for there. Henry Ford talked about his leadership and how he's kind of taken him under his wing, just from kind of mentoring the freshmen. But I think the shortstop at the middle, like that's kind of where your defense always starts. You can't give away outs in Omaha. Outs are so important. Innings are so important that I think Griffo Farrell's got to show out with his glove. And if he can get a few hits and get on base the way he's kind of been accustomed to, he can kind of make that Virginia offense go. And I really, really like Griffo Farrell. And I think Virginia's chances to go deep in this tournament ride with him in a good way.
I'm going to stick with Virginia as my X Factor player as well. Micah, who do you think I'm picking?
Ooh. There's a couple people we could go with, but I'm going to go Eric Becker.
Oh, you were close. I'm going Henry Godbout.
Ooh,
that one.
Henry Godbout, and he's been hot this postseason, and he can get in a groove and look really good. And he's going to be hitting in the 7 or 8 spot of the lineup. But this UVA, the bottom of their lineup produces. It doesn't matter if it's Eric Becker or Luke Hansen playing third base. Those guys, they come up big at the bottom of the order. Bobby Whalen's been in a little bit of an offensive slump, but defensively he's good. And then Ethan Anderson, depending on if they're facing a lefty or a righty, he may be batting 8th or 2nd. So having somebody like Ethan Anderson at the bottom of the lineup is pretty lethal for
I forgot which one does it go to normally, because obviously DeCaro's a righty. So where would that put EA normally? Is that
I think 2.
So it's 2. Okay, I always forget which one they put him where for.
I'm not 100% confident on that, but I'm 90% confident. It's.
So does that mean Hansen goes against?
Hansen's a righty, so it'll be Becker.
So it'll be Becker, yeah, lefty righty. Yeah. Okay.
So Becker will start if it's DeCaro.
Yeah.
But you'll see a pinch hit opportunity because, as we saw, even if Becker has a big game, Oak is committed to that platoon, and it didn't matter when he went to Cold Hansen, who hit a bases clearing double to end.
I can't wait for the Anthony Stefan sack bunt though. It's going to be electric.
Or the hit by pitch when he's like with the I love Tony.
And then the stolen base. I'm gonna love it.
Yeah,
I love every minute of it.
All right, so we've got our X factors. Obviously, if you're worried that we didn't pick NC State, we did talk about Butterworth. He is our group X factor, it sounds like, for NC State.
By committee.
By committee, yep. But Mark went with a UVA player as well. Jacob Ferentz is the correct answer.
Jake.
Mark was denied an interview opportunity with Jacob Ferentz today, and apparently rejection only made Mark want him more.
Why was he denied one?
So, Ferentz was just a hot commodity, so everyone else was interviewing. I think radio was interviewing him as well. D1 was interviewing him. The big D3 transfer to, he was named an All-American, second-team All-American by National College Baseball Writers Association today. So he's been a hot commodity at the ballpark today. Let's go to our picks. What are you touching?
I was just moving this.
Does that bother you?
A little bit.
You've done that like 4 times. I'm gonna, Micah, you'll understand when you get here. Who are you going with? Let's start with Florida. We'll start with the games in order. Why am I?
This is you're so excited for that one.
Yeah, North Carolina, Virginia, Micah. I have a feeling I know where you're going.
And you're right, North Carolina.
Big or little?
I mean, it's going to be a 1-run game. After how Omaha has worked for me, Monty, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Vance Honeycutt hitting a 2-run bomb to walk it off.
And they should be the home team as the higher seed, right?
They are the home team, yes.
Yep. So, So Mike is going North Carolina. Nick.
I'm riding with the Virginia pitching to continue their groove. Give me the Wahoos.
Jake.
Going with the Sabre Boys, UVA.
All right. It's going to be a split call with the 2 UVA fans going UNC. I'm going with North Carolina.
Are y'all doing the jinx?
No, I mean, to me, this is a coin flip of sorts. I have no idea. I think you can make an argument, as we have, for both teams to win this game.
I would say, Monty, if Virginia if like DeCaro versus Blanco had gone the other way and it been UNC that won that series and UNC that won that game, I'd probably go Virginia here because I just think that, again, you see teams more often. There's that chip on your shoulder. There's just a part of me too that, I mean, I got to see UNC obviously in the Super Regionals. They just feel there's something special about that team right now. Not that there's not anything special about Virginia, because there is. But there's just been some, again, maybe it's just Bosch magic and it only works in Chapel Hill, but there is definitely some aura around that team where they just don't lose. They find ways to get it done every single time. So I think if it's a close game, it's gonna go UNC's way.
And if it's a close game, Dalton Pence just is looming.
Oh yeah.
And my X factor, Matt Poston. Thanks to Micah's recommendation.
I have a meme for him, by the way, idea for you for afterwards.
I can't wait for your Hansen meme.
I need to make it.
Yeah.
The problem is I get a lot of ideas and then I don't always make them in time. So we got to make sure I follow up. Jake, let's go to Florida State, Tennessee, the primetime game, Friday night lights in Omaha. We're going to be there. I get to see Jamie Arnold start for, I think, the 3rd time this season, which I didn't think I was going to be able to see Florida State at all. Who are you going with?
It's got to be Florida State. I'm so excited to kind of see Jamie Arnold. He's going to have a bounce-back game. I'm guaranteeing it. I bet you he goes deep into the game. I'm excited to see how much Jamie Arnold's grown in a little over a year and some change since I've seen him. Link said that they took him aside last year and were like, hey, here's the pitchers who are good, and here's where you are. You need to get over here.
Why is the first you mentioned this to me? You know how much I love Jamie Arnold, too.
He mentioned the press conference.
Yeah, I know. I haven't had a chance to look at the transcripts for all the press conferences I missed. But yeah, Jamie Arnold, completely different pitcher. I think his velocity's up a little bit too.
I think so.
And,
And he's shooting up draft boards too as well.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of
absolutely.
the buzz on him.
Yeah. So Micah sounds like he's ready to give us his pick. I was going to go Nick next, but let's get Micah.
Is this like the Trap remix?
It's my alarm clock tomorrow, boys.
Oh, I love it. So you'll be here. In spirit.
I will not.
When is the wedding? Is it Saturday?
The wedding is Saturday. The reception party is tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern. So I'll be that guy that's on his phone a lot.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie Arnold's must-see TV.
Just follow Monty for the updates.
No, it's not going to be like that. But Nick, who are you going with? You going with Jamie Arnold? You going with this Tennessee offense?
I'm going with Jamie Arnold, man. He looks so
we're
good.
So screwed. Monty, you better do it for the pod. Save us. Save us. I'm
going to go with Tennessee to save the pod.
Is that actually you think wins, Monty, or do you like?
I really like. It feels wide open this year. Every matchup actually feels very close, and we've made arguments for each one. So I feel like I'm both right and wrong every time I pick somebody.
I feel like every team's vulnerable this year.
Yeah, and even though it's funny, LSU was a 5 seed, but we all knew they were the best team in the country. Them or Wake Forest were one of the, and then
like
Florida.
they all do things really good, and then they all have bullpens that leave stuff to be desired.
Yep.
And offenses that excel.
I do like Jamie Arnold against this Tennessee offense, but
Tennessee's number one for a reason.
Yeah, and if it's close, Brennan Oxford's going to have a really tall task shutting this Tennessee offense down at the back end of this game. So if it's close or tied,
Tennessee does a great job making adjustments. They're one of the older, more experienced lineups. So it really is a coin flip game.
So going with Tennessee, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Can I make a guarantee, Monty? I think Jamie Arnold gets double-digit Ks.
Okay, and Micah likes it. All right, let's go on to our last ACC game. It is NC State at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock in Omaha. It'll be NC State. They will be the road team taking on the University of Kentucky Wildcats. I will start with Nick because I know he's a big fan of this Kentucky team.
Well, Pat.
Oh, I thought that was a Longhorns thing.
Yeah. Why are you flashing your horns up for, Nick?
Come on. This is the ACC pod.
Is that like work?
Not a fake SEC pod, Jake.
I love it. All right, Micah, who we going with? Is this NC State train about to come to the end of the station?
Wolf.
Nation.
Every time we do this, you never say it back. Are you actually an NC State alum?
No, he's a Wake Forest guy.
Jake says it with such you deliver it so it sounds like you're not joking. I know you are joking this time, but there's so many times where you deliver stuff as if you're serious. Okay. So Micah's going NC State. Nick's going NC State. Jake?
Kentucky. I've doubted them all year. I'm going to ride for the first time ever on the Kentucky train to save the podcast.
Does anyone know the last time I picked NC State? No. I want to say it was the Louisville series.
I think you're right.
So I'm going to go ahead and stick with Kentucky here. NC State has done well since that Louisville series, so why not keep picking against them? I'm sure I'll get some when we do the graphic. I'm sure I'll get some grief for that, but I'm doing it for you guys, the people. I'm doing it for Nick, the Wake Forest guy.
Hey.
I'm just kidding. All right.
You picked him in the Virginia Tech game. NC State.
In the Virginia Tech series? When did they play Tech?
No, in the tournament.
Oh, in the tournament. Okay. Yeah. In the ACC tournament, I did pick State versus Tech, but whatever. All right, guys. That's pretty much all we've got. We're going to be doing a lot of content. Jake and I are in Omaha right now. Micah will be in Omaha on Sunday or Monday or, sometime in the near future. We'll be here for the duration, hopefully. And I say we, not necessarily me, but I don't know how I'm going to drive back because that was brutal. Nick, do you have any final thoughts?
I will be there if State makes the final series, so I
There's
got
not gonna
everything
be.
kind of planned out. Hopefully,
Jake.
It's not going to be here.
what?
Jake said you're not going to be here.
Yes, I am.
Jake's not allowed back on the show. Micah.
Oh wait, and check out my article.
Yeah, when I publish it after this show. Thanks for reminding me again because I might have immediately closed my laptop. Micah.
You're gonna watch Family Guy.
You can't immediately close it. I need the audio format.
Oh, that too. I'm so tired.
But
You hit the Family Guy.
that being said, just to confirm, we are going to do shows tomorrow, Saturday, like pretty
That's
much
up to
recap.
you in the wedding party.
Well, I can definitely do Friday. Saturday, I might be out on that one. But
I can tap
Will-
in for you.
will-
I can go to the bullpen.
Noah, do you have any plans instead of Jake? No. We're gonna go.
Nick,
to the
you a
right.
righty or a lefty? Which one am I calling in?
But yeah, that's the plan. We're gonna try and do live shows as much as we can. Micah may not be available Saturday, but I will. We'll be probably doing it from the Chuck.
We're gonna do it from the Bar Park Village, I believe. It's Chinook.
Okay, whatever. Either way, we're gonna be doing it live.
We might have a special guest.
We'll do it live.
We might have a special guest on Monty.
Thank
With
you.
more to come.
Okay, I don't know what that means. Jake thinks we might have a special guest with more to come. But yeah, great show. We will see you tomorrow night after the Florida State Tennessee game. Hopefully it's a good one. I hope everybody has taken off work tomorrow and Saturday, and Micah's ready to do his thing. So we'll see you tomorrow night.